Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Again, thanks for clicking on and watching. On this week's episode, we're going to be painting a galvanized bulkhead. So we will take you through the process from the very start to the very end of how we paint and complete a galvanized bulkhead ready to go back to the customer. Remember, like, subscribe and turn on the bell for notification. And I hope you enjoy this video. Cheers. Right, so now we're going to take this TDCI bulkhead off the trolley. We're going to put the galvanised bulkhead for Andrew's build on it so we can T-wash that, ready for seam sealing. So now you can all laugh at me trying to get that off there on my own and the other one back on my own because I didn't put brake wheels on the trolley, so it just rolls off. So this one should keep you entertained. So then there's a few bits missing. Right, now that's on there. That's a lot easier. A couple of little bits to go clean off. Like I say, now we can clean a few little bits up, make sure the threads are clean from galv, etc. So now we'll T-wash this, but do it in the booth, because T-wash stinks. If anybody who's used T-wash will know, it stinks. And then once that's dried tomorrow, we can seam seal it all before the etch primer. So yeah, we'll get that ready to T-wash. Right, so we've got the bulkhead on the trolley, got it in the booth. We've already wiped it off with a degreaser just to get any fingerprints off it, etc. before we T-wash it. So first we're going to just give it a quick blow off, make sure there's no dust or anything stuck on it. Then the T-wash, so basically we just buy it in your 5 litres. And the best thing we found putting this on, the least messiest way, is you can brush it on. Don't really want to be putting this stuff in my paint guns, to be honest. So the best way I found with this is you literally just get an old squirty bottle, and that's the easiest way. You know, if it lasts you 1 or 2 things, great. I mean, this has done a fair few now, this squirty bottle, and it seems to be the best way for we found putting it on, and you know, you just get a nice even mist with it. So we'll give the bulkhead quick blow off, and then we'll get to putting the old T-wash on it. And then, like I say, once it's T-washed, we can get it seam sealed. Right, that's that. So we'll T-wash it, then we'll seam seal it probably tomorrow, Wednesday. Then it'll get some epoxy primer, do any little bits of filler work. Only a very thin skim, just to tidy it up. No, because the customer wants it nice. So with the T-wash, make sure you wear gloves. Make sure you wear a mask, because make sure there's no spiders in it. I've done that before, put it on and thought, what's that tickling my face? And there was a spider in it. Anybody that's used T-wash before will know it stinks. So you don't want to be breathing it in. and you don't want it on your skin. So we'll put a lighter coat on it now, then we'll leave it 10-15 minutes or whatever, 20 minutes, put another couple of coats on it. So we'll stick a coat on it now. So that's that, squirt your bottle. So that's the first coat on. So now we'll just leave that 20 minutes, half an hour, go do something else, come back, put another couple of coats on it, then leave it overnight. That's that one done. Good coat on that one, just make sure everything's saturated and it gets into all the nooks and crannies. So we'll leave that now for a day or two, and then we can epoxy it, and then seam sealing, which is great fun. So yeah, that's how you T-wash. So we're going to put some epoxy primer on the face side of the bulkhead that we T-washed yesterday. So we're going to be using some epoxy primer, it's for the one mix in the pot, bit of epoxy thinners. You can hear the booth warming up in the background, that's just bringing the panel up to temperature. Then we'll get it all set up and get rolling. So we'll get this mixed and then we'll get in the booth. Just give it a light coat on the inside just to protect it extra. We'll leave it 5-minute flash off now, and then we'll put another coat just over the top there, and that'll be plenty. Second coat done. Now we'll go wash the gun out. Afternoon everybody. We've got Andrew's bulkhead. We did the T-wash, we epoxied it, done the little bit of filler there just to smooth it out where the galvin was down the legs. So now I've got it taped out. We're going to seam seal it, seal all the panel gaps up, well, seams. So we've got some seam sealer brush, which is stiffer than your actual paintbrush, like a normal paintbrush. So we're going to pop that open and then we'll start putting some seam sealer in. If I wriggle you in, so I've got the camera on the tool trolley at the minute. I need a taller tripod. Ooh. Right, so we're going to seam seal that all up. Now the reason we tape it up, so when you seam seal it, you can peel it off, it'll leave you a nice straight line on your panel. So you just get it on. I'd wear some gloves because this stuff just makes a mess of your hands. You get it all over you. Like I say, this is one of those tedious jobs, but also necessary, just to stop the water getting between your, you know, the skins of the panel. So we've got the bulkhead in the booth, the window screen frame for the red 90 for Andrew. So now we're literally just mixing some etching primer to put on the bare metal bits in the lower half of the bulkhead. So this is from Manor Coatings. So this one's a 1-to-1 mix. So to put that in layman's terms, you'd have 100ml to 200ml of the hardener. So we'll mix enough of that to go and do that. Then we've got to put a wet on wet grey sealer primer over that, which we'll do when this is dried. So if we chuck 300ml of that in. So you want 300ml of the Etch, 300ml of the hardener. See, I like using this one because it's got a good coverage to it. Some etches are really thin, depending on what sort they are. I've always used this one, never had any issues with it, so like they say, stick to what you know and all that thing. Right, so that's the etch on. So now we've got some wet on wet. So basically a wet on wet primer is a primer you mix, you can put it on and you don't have to flat it down. So you put it on, and as you can see it's quite thin anyway, this needs a good stir. So you can put it on, leave it for its allotted amount of time, and then you can go straight on with your colour. Sometimes you can give it a little skiff just to get any dirt nibs out of it, anything like that. But this is just where there's no, you know, filler repairs and you don't require high build. You can just put this on as a sealer coat so everything's one even colour, and then go straight on with your colour. So this one is a 4:1:1 mix. So say you'll have 400ml of the primer, 100ml of the hardener, and then 100ml of thinners to mix it up. So you've got on your mixing pots, whether you can see it, so you're 4:1:1, or if you do it off the thing, so you'd go 400, 500, 600, and that's your 4:1:1. So we'll get this mixed, and then we'll get this put on. Then we'll give this probably about half an hour to fully dry through, and then we can go on with the colour. So you've got obviously an open window of how long you can leave it before then you would have to skiff over it before you put the colour on it. So you could put it on and leave it overnight, then come in the next day and just skiff it down with like a 500 soft pad or a 320 if you're using a direct gloss. But this is just a time saver rather than having to flat high build down all the time when you don't need to. So we'll get this mixed and then we'll get back in the booth. Right, so that's the wet on wet primer on. So we'll leave that to dry now, like I say, for about 20 minutes, half an hour. So putting that on, we've used, this is a Sartor Jet 100. So for a wet on wet primer, you want a 1.4 or 1.3 mil tip. I use a 1.4, so that's obviously the size of your tip in the end. Have it about 2 bar of pressure, and you don't want to be too close with it. You want to be back a bit. Put it on nice and even coats. You know, like I say, it's not a high build where you've got to get it on, you know, thick or anything. So just keep it nice and even. A couple of coats. It's just literally to cover it and make it all one consistent colour. So you don't want to be hammering it on too hard because it is thin, it will run. So we'll leave that now. We'll give it half an hour. We'll go do something else. We'll come in. We'll see if there's any little bits of dirt nibs in it. If we have, we've got a little bit of ultra fine soft pad. Will skiff the dirt off it, especially going over it with a base coat and a clear, unlike a 2K which is a bit thicker. So once this is dried and we're ready to paint, we'll get the colour mix, we'll show you the colour, and then we'll show you the gun we're going to use to put the colour on with and how to do that, and then we'll clear it up and then we'll see what the finished product looks like. Right, so we've got the booth warming back up a bit now. The primer's dry, ready to go, so we're going to mix the colour. So we've got a litre here at the minute. So what we did is, there was no code on the truck. So we took a piece of the old panel, gets scanned with a spectro camera, so a 5-angle camera, picks up the different shades, etc., and it'll give you a formulation for the mix. So this is come up with Fire Brick Red, which I believe is a Maserati colour, which is the closest one to the red there. So it's scanned that, and it's obviously on here, you can see on the tin it's give it a correction, so it's corrected it all to be right. So this is base coat mixed 2 to 1, so 2 parts paint, 1 part thinners, and we'll be spraying it through Sartor Jet HVLP 1.3mm tip. So the HVLP stands for high volume, low pressure. So you get a high volume of paint at a lower pressure. So that's a base coat gun. So that's the gun we'll be using to put this on, and then we'll be putting a clear coat over that. So we'll crack this open. Oh yeah. It's gonna look good. So we'll get this mixed up. So like I say, it was 2 to 1. So we'll get a bit of that. So we're gonna go 400ml of paint, 600ml, 200ml of the thinners. Don't put 600ml in, you'll end up in a mess. So 400ml of the base coat. Then we'll move that so we don't knock it in the floor. Then we want 200ml of standard thinners. So 200ml of standard thinners. And we'll give her a stir. Right, so we've got the paint mix on the gun. Set the gun at 1.3 bar. Obviously digital, it'll go up and down, we can adjust it. 3 turns out, I have it on my fluid. That's your fan, so that. All the way open and just crack it back ever so slightly. So we'll start putting the coats of paint on now, get the colour on, build it up slowly. We'll do a light coat first, just to see if we're going to have any problems or not. So we'll start smashing this on and see what it looks like. Right, so we've got the base coat on. We've let that dry off nicely and just had some dinner while we did that. So now just mix the lacquer up. So the lacquer we're using is from Capsy Coatings, 6050 2K UHS. So the UHS is ultra high solids. So basically, some clear coats can have a yellow tinge to them, but the Capsy, this is some that's gone off from weeks ago. You can see it's quite sturdy, but it's really clear. Some have a yellow tinge to them, so especially on whites, if you was trying to match and you got one that had a slightly yellow tinge to it, it can alter the colour. But we found this one, it's got a really good, you know, obviously solid content. It holds up the gloss nicely, it polishes nicely, so this is what we use on all of our repaints and jobs. It's a real good clear coat, and it's not, you know, badly priced neither. So that just obviously gives you an insight as to how clear it actually is. There's no yellowness in it or anything like that. So we had 2 coats of that on. First coat is sort of a fast closed coat, so you put it on quite fast, not going for that full sort of wet look. Then you leave it sort of 5 or 10 minutes to flash off, and then we'll go on with a nice second coat. So we'll get this set up, we'll get in the booth, and we'll get the first coat on. Right, so we're in the booth, we'll get the lacquer put on. So the gun we're using for the lacquer, DeVilvis GTI Pro Light. This one's got a 1.2mm setup in it with a T1110 air cap. With these guns you can get different setups with them. Really good gun for the money, not overly expensive, for about 260 odd quid a gun. So I'll run this one with the fluid tip. So basically when I set this up, I pull the trigger in, screw that in until I feel the trigger move and go in one full turn. A little bit backing on the fan, and then I run this at 2 bar. Just slightly over 2 bar, so when you pull the trigger it drops to 2 bar. So we'll put a fast closed coat on now, then we'll leave it 5-10 minutes to flash off until it's tacky, and then we'll put a nice wet coat on. So obviously the lacquer is 2-to-1 mix, 10% thinners in it. So we'll smash this on now. Right, so that's the bulkhead painted. We've just got the last coat of lacquer on. We'll leave that sort of 20 minutes or so now. Then we'll put the other heater on just to bring the temperature up in here, help it to go off light. As you can see, it looks quite dark in here, but you get the light on it. It's got a lovely red to it. So that can now go back to Andrew in a few days when it's dried and that. He can start putting his bulkhead back together. He's got his window screen frame done as well. So, like I say, that'll sit here now for about half an hour. We'll put the other heater on, just bring the temperature back up in here, and then leave it for sort of another half an hour with the heater running, just to help it harden off this time of year. So that's that part of the truck done. So next we'll be on to the tub. We've already got a couple of panels stripped off it, so we're just going to start getting that lined out and everything. So that'll be the next part to paint for the truck, and a couple of other bits. Then it'll be on to the sides. We've got those in there, the roof. Then they can go back on. Then it'll be doors, wings, bonnet. So I think Andrew's on about buying a new TDCI bonnet for it now, so that'll be nice. So pretty much the only original panels of the truck are going to be the sides and the roof and the actual inner arches and the front bulkhead of the tub. The rest of it is pretty much all new panels. So once it's done, it'll look really, really nice. So I think, are we going to call it that for this week's video, Lloyd? I think so, mate. Yeah, so again, we appreciate everybody that watched last week. We appreciate everybody that's watched this week. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, give us a share, and we'll see you next time. And drop us a comment of anything else you want to know or you want to see in the comments down below. Cheers, people.